Sunday, March 26, 2023, in the English village of Besen, a man was walking his dog. They walked along the bank of the river Witham, which flows through the county of Lincolnshire. The man was enjoying the peace and the beautiful scenery, but suddenly this idyll was disturbed by a dog that pulled a white shopping bag out of the water and dropped it at its owner's feet. A foul smell emanated from the bag. The man thought it contained spoiled meat, and that was why the dog reacted so strongly to the bag. However, when he opened the knot, a horrific sight presented itself, and he immediately called the police. Within half an hour, officers arrived at the scene. Inside the white bag was a part of a human hand. The police immediately called a team of divers to the scene of the tragedy. By the evening of the same day, 17 more similar bags were recovered from the River Witham and taken to the London Forensic Centre. Forensic pathologists needed a full 13 hours to assemble the puzzle, which consisted of 224 pieces. Such a gruesome find indicates that the perpetrator most likely had a good knowledge of human anatomy and possibly worked in medicine. According to the pathologist's report, the victim of the crime was a woman. The estimated age of the deceased was between 20 and 30 years, and death occurred about a week prior. The woman had no distinguishing features such as tattoos, birthmarks, or scars that could aid in her identification. The police thoroughly searched the beach and the immediate vicinity but found no further clues. The investigators then checked missing persons lists and tried to match them with the discovered woman. One of these individuals was 26-year-old Holly Bramley, whose disappearance had been reported 6 days earlier on March 20. Although Holly was married, it was her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bramley, and not her husband, who filed the missing person report. They noticed their daughter's strange behavior on March 17 when she stopped answering the phone and only sent messages. Her communication style had changed dramatically. The mother and father wrote that Holly suddenly started being rude to us and sending us SMS messages telling us to go away. We knew immediately that something was wrong. Holly was very kind. She would never write something like that, according to the parents. Since identification was not possible, the police resorted to a DNA test which cleared all doubts. The victim was indeed Holly Bramley, who lived in the city of Lincoln, 7 km from the discovery site. Holly was born in 1997 into a large family. She was one of triplets in a large family. She had 13 siblings with whom she had a very good relationship. After graduating from school, Holly attended Boston Medical College with the goal of becoming a nurse. There, in her second year of study in 2016, she met Nicholas Metzen, a fourth-year student who was training to be a general practitioner. Not much is known about Nicholas's childhood and family. In 2013, when he was 17, he was convicted of assaulting a girl. 3 years later, in 2016, he was again in court. He received a suspended sentence for publishing intimate photos of his girlfriend online without her consent. It was revenge for the breakup. After receiving a suspended sentence, Nicholas was expelled from medical school. In the meantime, he began a relationship with Holly. She was not deterred by Nicholas's past or by the fact that he had Asperger's syndrome. After his expulsion, he got a job in a factory where he butchered meat. In 2018, after graduating from college, Holly began working as a nurse in one of the clinics in Lincoln. Soon after, Nicholas proposed to her. On November 11, 2021, the couple had a modest wedding. The newlyweds moved into a studio apartment on the 14th floor in a bedroom district in Lincoln. Holly knew she would have a hard time getting along with Nicholas. Asperger's syndrome has different manifestations. In Nicholas's case, the condition led the man to be obsessively controlling. He monitored his wife's every move, making her describe in the smallest detail what she did, what she ate, what medications she took, what color her socks were. Nicholas tried to ensure that Holly had as little contact as possible with her parents, brothers, sisters, and friends. She hardly ever saw them, only occasionally calling them or exchanging messages via social media. During her studies, Holly had worked for several months as a nurse in a center for children with autism spectrum disorders, so she knew how to communicate with such people. Some of Nicholas's remarks she tolerated in other cases. She tried to calm her spouse and assure him of her boundless love. Initially, this strategy worked, but over time, the man moved further and further away from her. Holly's patience only encouraged him to completely control her life. For example, in the autumn of 2022, Nicholas felt that his wife was giving too much attention to their dog. One day, the man allegedly did not notice how the animal got into the washing machine, whereupon the appliance turned itself on and started, and Nicholas arranged it so that the animal would be found by Holly. Nicholas did not stop there. The hamsters Holly got after the dog suffered the same fate. Nicholas claimed the rodents escaped from their cage on their own. One climbed into the microwave and the other into the blender. Both hamsters died. Holly realized even then that Nicholas was crazy and she had to escape him immediately. In December 2022, she shared her fears with a friend, telling her not only about the pets but also about other disturbing actions of her husband. Her friend replied, "Run away before it's too late, or do you still have doubts about whether to leave him or not?" The last straw for her was when Nicholas cooked her pet rabbit for dinner in March 2023. 16 months after the wedding, Holly finally decided to leave Nicholas, whom she now feared terribly. The man kept telling her that nothing could separate them. Holly's parents recalled that she loved her younger brothers, nephews, and nieces. She desired nothing more than to be a mother. Holly desperately wanted to have children, but Nicholas was utterly unsuitable to be a father. She had wanted to separate from him as early as the beginning of 2023 but kept postponing the decision. On March 18, 2023, Holly did not show up for work. Since she wasn't answering her phone, the nurse's supervisor called Nicholas to ask if his wife was okay. The man replied, "Didn't she tell you that we broke up? Last night Holly packed her things and moved out. I have no idea where she is." Nicholas told a similar story to Holly's parents, who also could not contact her. Over the next 2 days, the relatives checked all of Holly's acquaintances, but none of them knew with whom or where the young British woman might have run away. Thereupon, Holly's parents went to the police on March 20 and reported their daughter's disappearance. The next day, law enforcement invited Nicholas to the police station and asked him to tell them the circumstances under which he last saw his wife. Here is his answer. "It was on March 17 or 18. She packed her things and left. I saw from the window that she was accompanied by 2 men and concluded that she was having an affair, apparently for a long time. I didn't want to talk about it and didn't make a big deal out of it." When asked why he didn't go to the police, Nicholas replied, "Since Holly didn't come home, our marriage automatically ended. Consequently, I no longer needed to be interested in her life." Nicholas was extremely calm during the interrogation, but when the police asked when they could inspect his apartment, he became visibly nervous and reluctantly agreed. Before entering the apartment, one of the officers asked, "Are you sure Holly is not home?" Nicholas smiled mockingly and replied, "I am 100% sure, but if you don't believe me, check. Maybe she's hiding under the bed." The investigators looked around the apartment. It turned out that most of Holly's belongings were indeed gone, but law enforcement was interested in something else. All rooms smelled strongly of chlorine, and in the kitchen trash can were several napkins stained with an unknown substance. When Nicholas was asked to explain this discovery, the man stated that Holly had bitten him during their last encounter. As proof, he stretched out his arm on which tooth marks could be seen. Nicholas's explanation sounded flimsy, to say the least, but at that point, the police had no reason to arrest him. The police only returned to Nicholas a few days later, when it was confirmed that the woman found in the river with Am was Holly Bramley, who had been missing for more than a week. The surveillance cameras in the house where the couple lived had mysteriously failed 2 days before Holly's disappearance. Someone had cut the power cable. However, the police managed to find other cameras on a neighboring building that showed Holly entering the driveway on March 17, 2023. With a bag of fish in her hand, she never left the house again. Nicholas Metzen was immediately arrested. Forensic experts conducted a thorough search. Despite the general cleaning and a large amount of chlorine with which the man had literally flooded the apartment, traces of Holly's blood were found in the bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom. Judging by the traces found, everything began with an argument in the bedroom, whereupon Holly tried to hide from Nicholas in the kitchen. Unfortunately, she was brutally attacked there. Nicholas killed his wife and then dismembered her body in the bathroom, using his experience in meat processing, and packed the remains in bags, thinking about what to do next. To avoid suspicion, Nicholas hung a note on the apartment door stating that people with the coronavirus lived in the apartment and asked outsiders not to ring their doorbell. On the same day, Nicholas took Holly's phone and began sending messages to her family and friends in her name. He wrote that she had allegedly self-harmed, been taken to a psychiatric clinic, and then fled to Manchester. Nicholas also claimed Holly had abused him. He transferred money from her account to his own and then withdrew it from a nearby ATM. A few days later, when Holly's parents became seriously concerned, Nicholas realized he had to get rid of the bags containing Holly's remains and clean the apartment thoroughly. Thereupon, he called an old school friend named Joshua Hancock and asked him for help. Nicholas promised his friend £50, about $60. A few words about Joshua. He was 27 years old at the time. Like Nicholas, he had Asperger's syndrome, but unlike his friend, he had a very low IQ. Joshua suffered from an addiction and lived with his parents. In January of the same year, he got into trouble with the police. He started corresponding with minors online, invited 2 beauties to his home, and gave his address. But instead of the young girls, the police came to him. During the arrest, Joshua pretended not to understand what was going on. He was investigated, and 3 months after the incident, he helped dispose of the bags containing Holly Bramley's remains. Nicholas bought a large cart. He packed 18 bags in the apartment, rolled the cart outside, and loaded the bags into his car. Then he picked up his friend and they drove together to the river. After getting rid of the bags, they returned to the apartment where they began the general cleaning. Nicholas paid Joshua £50. The friend went home. A few hours later, Joshua sent an SMS to another friend stating that he had received £50 for helping dispose of a body. Joshua also took a photo with the note and posted it online with the caption, "Girls, call me, I haven't had intimacy in a long time." A few days later, Joshua deleted this posting. Nicholas remained in the apartment, opening the door to no one using the internet, and typing the following questions into a search engine. What benefits do I receive if my wife dies? Can chlorine bleach destroy fingerprints? Can a person's ghost haunt me after death? Does God forgive murder? Nicholas Metzen was brought to trial in the spring of 2024 and pleaded guilty without reservation. On April 5, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with the right to apply for parole after 19 years. Nicholas Metzen not only took his wife's life, but also ensured that no one would ever find her, thus proving his unscrupulousness and cruelty. Therefore, he rightly went to prison to come to terms with his crime and improve himself. His accomplice, Joshua Hancock, also pleaded guilty. According to eyewitnesses, Joshua suffered more from his actions than Nicholas. Joshua received a 3-year prison sentence and was placed on the sex offender registry for 10 years. Holly's grieving parents said their daughter's death was a great tragedy for their entire family. The grieving mother and father hope that Nicholas will never be released and will spend the rest of his life behind bars. If you liked the video, feel free to give it a like. That helps a lot with spreading it. Also, leave a comment to support the channel and recommend the video. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new videos. Thanks for watching and take care.